In order to make your data import process a little more efficient, what you can do is use scripts, and you can also reuse scripts for later data file imports. So what I'm going to do now is create a new table, and in that new table, in selecting the actual file, we're basically going to select first off the report2.txt table for analysis. And what that'll do is it's a sample report file that comes with ACL. And in looking at the edit record, okay, so it figured out that there's a period here, and then that's a detail, and ACL figured all that out. It actually defined all the fields. I could even go into each one of these fields and change the name of this field, let's say to cust no, and let's try to add a couple more here just to show you what we can do. We'll change this to invoice date, etc. So then when I hit the next field, I can save it to a file called report2. I already have one, but that's okay. And I then would define each one of these fields as I found fit, and then hit the next button, the finish button, and that provides me with the report2 imported file. Now let's go over to my log and take a look at this import command. So this is the import command here, and I think it's going to be easier for us to take a look at this in the slideshow, as I want to explain in more detail how each one of these components is utilized. So now in the PowerPoint version of this, where I've made this in a red and green format, you can pretty much see where things fall out. We imported a print report file to a data file import or input file definition or data table format, whatever you want to call it, of report2. That is the file definition that's in the .acl document. Now we got this, or excuse me, we wrote this to a file called AuditNet, webinar series, etc., report2.fil. So that's where we ended up writing that particular file to. And we got that from a report2.txt file. Again, the file that we opened up was called report2.txt. So just trying to show you with the colors here how we're creating the file format here. We're creating a new table file, an actual physical file on the hard drive, which is being saved to that item there. And then it's being pulled from the report2.txt. Now, this could be edited anytime you'd like, so that if you got a new file, it had the same format, but instead of it being called report2, you wanted to call it report5, and the actual file, let's say, was called report5.txt, this would import the data as long as it was in this folder, AuditNet 2012 webinar series, etc. As long as it was in that folder, it will be able to not only find it, but then to actually import and run that particular report save. Now, from a field point of view, all of the fields that we have here would be named however you've named them. Now in this slide I have them named as field 1, field 2, etc. But if you change these field names to whatever you wanted to change them to, and you change the formats to whatever you wanted to change the formats to, then ACL would save those formats. And again, all of this gobbledygook of field name definition is something that you can read through it. It's not that worth going through right now, but it's something that it ends up getting saved in there and applied to that file in later saves of that particular file. And that's really what you want to be able to do, is be able to edit what you choose in the above, which would probably be the import file you're importing and the file that you want to save it to, as well as the data file or input file definition name. But aside from that, you can then reuse this import command over and over again. So let's go back to ACL and take a look at another file. So now in ACL, what we can do is import another table. So let's do this one more time. And in this case, I want to go down and take a look for a delimited table called test tab, a tab delimited table. And we'll hit the next button. It's a delimited text file, yes. It's tab delimited, yes. And we'll call this again, test tab. And yeah, let's just call it that to keep it simple. The check number is actually an ASCII. The check amount is numeric, and the enterer's initials are ASCII. So we'll hit the next button, and then finish, and then we have our test tab. So now that we have that, let's go to the log and take a look at that import statement. Now this one is a little bit different, where we have import delimited to test tab, and we're pulling it from the test tab table. Now, what's kind of interesting here is notice how I don't have all of that gobbledygook of, E colon, etc., etc. And the reason for that is I'm working all within the same folder as my ACL document. And, as long as that's happening, that makes it a lot easier when editing this particular script, where you really can have the file format test tab, which again is just this test tab over here. That's the input file definition. That's this item right here. Then you have testtab.fil, which is the file on your hard drive, and it's coming from that delimited file, which is in the same folder as this ACL document. Everything after that, I feel, is gobbledygook that you can read into if you'd like, but it's something that as long as you're getting the same file format over and over, that import file definition or import statement can be used over and over again in a script. So we could easily just copy this from the command line here, or if you'd like, you could select these two import statements here like that, and you can right click and save selected items to a script and call this test import script, and then that would provide you with an import script that's something that you can work with anytime that you like. The next topic I wanted to talk to is working or playing within the ACL document, but doing so in a text editor. And this is really, it's not recommended. It's not something that you really want to do other than to maybe understand what's happening behind the scenes in your ACL documents and be able to see more in there. So I'm saying this might be something that's useful if you needed to make edits throughout the ACL document in a certain way. One example might be switching from, say, Unicode to non-Unicode, and you need to edit all of your scripts to take out non-Unicode or Unicode statements to make it more non-Unicode. That might be one good example. You might have a bunch of scripts that you want to edit in one shot, changing field names, let's say, throughout the scripting. So that might be one reason to do this, but it really isn't that recommended, and it can lead to issues. So it is something where we're showing it to you, but it's something to use with a lot of testing. So definitely make a copy of the ACL document first before playing with the ACL document. And what we're going to talk about is how within each of these ACL documents you have these caret mark batch, layout, folder, report. And what those are is batch is a script, layout is your actual file layout or input file definition, folder is any folders you may have set up, report is actually the view of that data. And then we have things like the parent folder ID. The parent folder ID is set when the folder is set. So it might be 1 for the first folder you set, 2 for the next folder you set, etc. And it's interesting to look at these ACL documents because they're laid out in more of a chronological format. Like not all of the scripts are put in one place or all of the folders in another place. They're just listed chronologically. But again, with that, all that said, and what we're going to show you is how you can take a look at your ACL documents to understand the inner workings, but also to make changes across all the documents. But again, make a copy first. It's not that recommended. However, it can be a very useful technique. So with my copy of the ACL document, again, big copy here. I'm going to drag that into my Edit Pad Pro. You could use Notepad++. I'm not a big fan of just Notepad, so I would definitely take a look at some of the other products out there. This product, Edit Pad Pro, does cost a few dollars, but what's really nice about it is it has a lot of features here, and you will not use all of them. However, let's take a look at some of the things you can do. This is the ACL document. You have your layouts that were imported first. We have the paid file. We have the report to file. We have the employee master file. These are all files that were imported. And again, a lot of this is gobbledygook. It does show you the history log of any sort of data associated with that file. We have any sort of scripts that may have been entered into that particular ACL document. And what you can do, just taking a look, let's say you want to define all of your layouts, all of your table layouts throughout here, just to give you a simple example of things you could do. You can do a control find, which brings this up. And what I can do is just select the layout option here. Whoops, didn't want to do that. This is why it's dangerous. And then we can copy that down here. And one of the nice things, you could highlight all of the items. So very quickly here, I'm highlighting all of the layouts throughout this ACL document. If I wanted to then find and replace all, I could quickly find and replace all throughout this ACL document. So this is something where it can be very useful to utilize these documents. I do think it's a little bit dangerous to work in here and may not be that friendly to find what you need. However, it is something where if you are updating scripts, it can be a very quick way of updating every script in your ACL document without having to go into each script one by one. So hopefully this is a helpful tool to you as well.